So today, of course, we will be talking about CPDE brand. So we want to help our secretariats develop CPDE related material. So how does CPDE want to be recognized? How does it want to be known by everyone? And how do you want our partners to align more in our vision and perspectives as a platform and as our organization looking into partnership with the broader society? So okay, we've invited our former network manager, Ms. Padilla. So recently she has developed the CPDE rebrand last year, and she's developing now and enriching our CPDE brand toolkit. So we want her to talk about it more. So we've invited her to join us in our workshop today. So I hope Ms. Potty, you're ready to give your talk. Okay.
I'm ready.
Okay, please proceed. Thank you.
So good evening and good morning, everybody. We will first begin with a brief background on the CPDE brand, the former CPDE brand, and how it has shifted recently. I only have 10 minutes to do this, so I will be quick. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay. So just a brief background on the CPDE brand. The CPDE came about during the Busan High-Level Forum on Aid and Development Effectiveness. This was held last November to December 2011. In 2012, the two platforms, Better Aid and Open Forum, merged together to form a united CSO alliance to continue the engagement on development effectiveness agenda. So from there, we've been using the two circles, the green and the black circle, to represent CPDE. Next slide, please. So on the screen, you'd see the different rendition of the logos. The first one will be what we use in the full color layouts. The second is a mono, and the rest, the last one would be the one in a solid dark color. We've also had the CPDE logo in three different languages, so English, Spanish, and French. Next slide, please. So from 2012, the color palette that we've been using is what you see on screen. So it was mainly the CPDE green, I'll call it the CPDE green, and the darker tones of green with gray and black as an additional color. But also because green is, when used alone, is so mono, we used an extended color palette, which you can see on the screen. So you have different tonal values of the red, purple, orange, blue, and a maroon, along with the green color. Next slide, please. This color palette was reflected in the different materials we've been producing since 2012. So on the screen, you'd see how the color palette was used in the different publications, flyers, even banners, and some of our reports. Next slide, please. So 8 years after several evaluations, strategic reviews, management audits, and reflection on several organizational learning processes, we developed the new platform's strategic plan for 2020 to 2023. Next slide. In the process, we also highlighted, or we had to reflect on what CPD has achieved so far in 8 years. So on the screen, I've highlighted some of the achievements. So I'll just quickly go through this. We continue to enable global CSO engagement and even secured seats in important global fora tackling effective development cooperation. recognized as the only CSO platform working on EDC, and acknowledged for its expertise in this area and with the wide CSO reach. Together, we built organizational capacities related to our advocacy and research work. We engage CSOs in more than 80 countries in EDC-related activities, with at least 35 active CSO country focal points. We amplify the voice of the marginalized by advocating people-centered development in all arenas we engage in. We sustain CSO efforts to work on their own development effectiveness. And we forge alliances with other key global CSO partners. So these achievements suggests partnership, engagement, cooperation. And we think, next slide, please. These achievements have strengthened the platform's identity, making the CPDE logo more meaningful and reflective of strengthened partnerships of CSOs and the interconnection of our own advocacies woven into effective development cooperation. So this is the new meaning of the CPDE logo. Next slide. So on the screen, we see the how we still use the CPDE logo, the short logo, on light backgrounds, black and white or mono, and on a dark background. I think you're very familiar with this. You've seen this several times in our materials. Next slide. So this clearer identity and meaning was a takeoff point for developing a new CPDE brand that not only reflects inclusive partnership, but also one that is able to adapt to the new ways of working. So come 2020, we were all experiencing firsthand the pandemic with our different advocacies. We saw that the issues each one of us have been advocating for was only highlighted by the pandemic. Next slide. Part of the strategy of the new branding is to be able to reflect the constituencies of the platform. Since we were all not seeing each other, we can't travel, we were mostly confined in where we work, and we were reliant on the digital platforms to be able to connect with each other. We thought it would be best to reflect each of the constituencies, not just rely on what the CPDE logo show, the CPDE logo that shows partnership. So we made these icons. After all, the niche of CPDE, I think, is the wide membership engaging in EDC. While the logo suggests that in a general way, we thought each constituency, regional and sectoral, should be represented. Next slide, please. So we adapted the new color palette. The new shades suggest a diversity of our membership. So rather than have the green only, we have the new shades. If you remember the first slide, the color palette is based on the different colors of the logo icons of the constituencies. But on our materials, we still reflect the green color because that's the CPDE color. And because this period was also the onset of the pandemic, we think it's better to reflect brighter colors, more hopeful, compared to the old CPDE palette. Next slide, please. No, not that one. Move back. So since last year, the CPD's work has shifted its work to mostly online engagements. So compared to having printed materials, which was previous practice, we found ourselves having to rely on digital materials. So doing mostly stuff that we can share online. So this shift actually, we didn't have to worry about the printing costs, the number of pages, the limitations of print material. So the shift to online materials enabled better color rendition of our materials, better use of wide white spaces, which makes our materials easier to read and navigate. Next slide, please. So we also incorporated more photos and graphic images compared to the text-heavy CPD materials we used to produce. Next slide. Also, when needed, we try to visualize concepts and data. Producing these materials also enables us to produce standalone materials that can be used online for your presentations or for social media sharing. So the materials that I've shared so far, I think you've read or seen these materials. So those are the strategic plan, the COVID survey that we did, the HLPF material that we shared, which has the VNR survey from last year. And also this material on the screen is the, next slide please, the recent publication of CPDE, which has the various researches made by our members in relation to their experience as CSOs during the pandemic. Next slide. So this is also one of the materials we produced recently for the summary of the VNR survey and was also shared during the HLPF 2021. The branding can also be seen in the website, which has been improved and redesigned from last year. We still continue to work on a few things there, but I think we've incorporated the new rebranding on the website. Next slide, please. So the one on the left is the one for laptop and the other one is a mobile version of the website. Next slide. The new rebranding is also reflected on our social media releases. On the screen, you can see what the communications group has produced so far. So these are social media cards shared through our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Next slide. Okay, there are empty parts there. Sorry. Okay, next slide, please. It's also reflected in internal CPDE materials, which we share, or the Global Secretariat shares with the CPDE constituencies. On the screen is a CPDE membership charter, which reflects the color palette and our current images produced for the platform. Lastly, I think one of the things that we try to do is whenever we can, we'd like to make sure that we reflect the identity of our members by adding their logos on our materials. Showing these different identities. So this is like our profile pic, the organization's profile pic. Showing these spell out that EDC is everybody's work. And I think this further defines who CPDE is. So that's a brief discussion on the CPDE branding. We're going to be coming out with a branding toolkit soon, the updated version, and we hope it will be useful for everybody. That's all. Thank you so much.